Kari.
And I'm Karen. Welcome to Alethea Speaks podcast,
where we speak the truth that sets you free. This is episode, I don't know, 19?
See, that's why we should never start numbering them, because you'll never remember.
Okay, well, we are not numbering this podcast episode. We are coming to you without a number.
Without a number, in an undisclosed location. This is the same as the last one.
But nobody reached out to us and asked us where the last location was.
No free boba.
No, I'm sorry.
Right, we tried to give it away.
We did.
Yeah, it's on you guys.
So we are super excited today because
we have a guest.
Yes. And if any of you have been wondering, who is this Daniela girl that's in all of the books?
Right.
Here she is!
Special guest. And it's a really special broadcast. This is something else we've never done, is we've never stopped to talk about Kari as an author. She's got 2 books out, and we've never done, we're not people who promote ourselves, but you know what? I'm going to promote my daughter, and I'm really excited to do that.
I just want you to know I had little to no choice in this. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it.
Right. People don't like to brag about themselves, but I'm going to brag on my daughter because I'm really proud of her. And so we want to talk about a couple of books and why they were written and why they're important and what the reason behind them were. And then how you can get them, because if they're really that important, you need a copy too. So I want to talk about Kari's first book. It's What I Wish I Would Have Known About Prayer.
So Daniela did the foreword in that one.
Dun, da, da.
And I have had a couple people tell me they're intimidated by how well you did the foreword.
Oh.
They're like, I could never do a forward like that. But it really just came out of your heart, because we've been friends for 9 years.
Yes, 9 years. Wonderful years.
Yes.
Okay, so this hot book, What I Wish I Would Have Known About Prayer, is a compilation of really what you wish you would have known about prayer. So I want to have you talk a little bit about why you wrote this book and what you think readers will get out of that.
So I love that Danny's with us today, because this is really our story. And I think it's even so much your story,
right?
Because when we started you've moved here about 8 years ago, right? And we were friends about 9 years ago. And so we've got this friendship, and then you come and move in, and then we start learning things and growing in this language of prayer in a different way. And things we had been taught about prayer, or things we'd been taught about the church, we found out that they weren't quite working for us, and that there was a different way and a better way. And so really, I just go into the big headline topics of, I learned this and it completely changed my life in regards to prayer, and I want to share it with you. So
Daniela, I know you've read the book, you wrote the foreword for it. What is one thing that you think you personally got out of this book?
One of the things that I love about the book is that the book takes you step by step, modeling how we are to go about prayer. It's very special and unique in that way, because there's not a lot of books out there that actually take one's experience and puts it in a way where it's completely modeled step by step, so that it makes it, or facilitates it for one to do it.
Right. I love that it talked about why people don't pray, what people do wrong.
We take your excuses and say, and just expose them for what they are, right? It's an excuse. I don't have time. God's far away from me. Yes. All of those different things that people think when it comes to relate to God. And it's so, you never arrive. People will struggle with these lies, even up until the point when they meet the Lord face to face. I think, it's a process of becoming more and more convinced that you're already accepted in the beloved. And until that time comes, then I don't want to say you're susceptible to the lie, but I think all of us can have the tendency to hear the whisper of oh, you don't need to do that today. Or, oh, you're tired, or you don't have time or whatever those
Right.
different things might be. So
Right.
Yeah. I think all of us have been so greatly impacted by the message of righteousness.
absolutely.
I mean, really, all of us could probably talk for 30 minutes on our own about the message of righteousness. All of us have had our own life altering experience with the message of righteousness. You talk about that in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk for a minute about that?
There's one chapter in particular in there that it was really one of those big monumental. We actually had done this for a Light and Truth Live meeting, and we were studying, oh gosh, I don't even remember where it is now in the word. But it's a story of when in the Old Testament, these prophets call for the people to get divorced because they had intermarried. And this part that gripped our heart, and Danny came to the meeting that night, I remember this, and both of us were just like, oh my gosh, we never saw this before. But when the revelation of righteousness hits you, you're able to see sin consciousness everywhere. And so in this particular Old Testament example that's in the book, the priesthood is basically starts by tearing his clothes and saying, we are so unworthy and we are so unrighteous and we are such sinners and we have failed so much. And he just goes on this tirade for verse after verse after verse about how wicked they are. Well, the problem is the blood had already been spilled. And you can't have those two things be true at the same time. And so that was a big light bulb moment for me, was seeing back in the Old Testament, even though they had this ongoing sacrificial system to remind them that they were cleansed and that they were new, they still were in this sin conscious lifestyle. And so many Christians are still caught up in that today. So it's a very applicable parable. Jesus always spoke in parables because it was so much easier to relate to this story, and that's kind of what that chapter's about in there. So
I love that, but I also love that you went even further back in that than that and talked about the beginning of civilization, where I mean, every civilization had sacrifices. Every civilization had the very same ways of trying to reach out to different kinds of gods and deities. And you want to talk about that for a minute?
So what I love about this is that nothing that I do, I've done by myself. I've done it with my people. So
we are her people.
Yes. And you learn better when you learn together. And
Yeah.
nothing that I know is really of my own knowing. It's because there's people that bring things to the potluck and then we all feast together and then we all learn together. So Daniela and I have done family altar for our families for 4 years.
Yeah.
Maybe something like that. And we just learned that every altar is a table, and communion elements are all that we're always feeding on the bread of life. And so we bring our families together and we minister to the Lord. And, you know, she does it at her house. I do it at my house. Like sometimes we get together and do it together, but that's not something that we do just by accident. I mean, people worship at altars every night. They're called TVs. People, they do
or sports or
yes, or different activities that your kids are in or whatever. I mean, they're all altars. And this concept of altars is so ancient. It goes back to the Garden of Eden, which is where everything started. God said, tend and keep this garden. And those are priestly activities around cultivating and establishing a meeting place with the Lord. And if you don't do it with the Lord, you will do it because you're a priest, because we are called to a priesthood. So you're going to worship something and you're going to have an altar to something, whether you know it or not. And so, you know, what we've chosen to do is intentionally gather our families around an altar to the Lord with ministering to the Lord. I mean, it's not, we don't like have like candles out with like a, no, right. It's not what it looks like. But, you know, for our family, we do like, you know, a little bit of worship. It can range, depending on how the kiddos are doing. It can range anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour. It just depends on how the night is going. But what does yours look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So we, ours is centered around worship and the word. A lot of times it's beautiful because the kids will bring in something in their hearts and that really lends itself to be able to bring out truth. But it's a time where we just gather as a family and we minister to the Lord with worship, with instruments. The children are on instruments like piano, sometimes ukulele, and we sing and then we minister to the Lord, and then we kind of draw out the word or something that just Holy Spirit shows us in that moment of family altar and worship. So
I actually am not going to let you guys go on about that because like that's going to be a whole podcast.
Well,
Like we're going to do a whole podcast.
Well, you
on
did
the
ask
family
about the altar.
Yes, no, but that would be a fantastic podcast to do the whole thing on exactly.
Okay.
Like exactly what do you do from how do you open? Like to what do you have each kid do? Like, do you bring it? How do you bring in art? Because I know you bring in art.
yes.
How do you what do the youngest ones
I thought
do?
you said we were going to talk about this later on another podcast.
Well, you're right. Okay.
But she does. You do talk about the altars in the book.
Yes,
right? And I do believe that it's very important starting point, and just how to go about, understanding the altar and the functions of the altar, and then how do we apply that to now in our everyday life, right? Like
that was not just for them. That thread wove from the Old Testament till through today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. That's still very practical. And the Old Testament's full of nuggets that we can glean from. We know that Jesus is the exact image of the Father. And so we've always got to bring our Jesus glasses back into the Old Testament whenever we go there. And that's what I talk about in the book too. So
what do you think is the most important chapter in here? What are the chapters? Like
I did read this. Okay. I will say the most comments that I have had have been on the chapter on lamenting.
You're right.
The most feedback.
I mean, people not even wanting to do it.
They didn't even want to read the chapter.
People thanking you for the lamenting chapter.
Yes.
People being upset about the lamenting chapter. Like they have been on all ends of the continuum.
Yeah.
About it.
I did have a text saying I didn't want to read this. I clenched my eyes. I put the book away.
Right.
And then the person eventually went back and read the chapters, was just so blessed by it because it was so different from what they had been taught. So,
and people I know one person in particular who found complete freedom
got delivered
from the lamenting,
from reading a book.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I mean, we've experienced freedom from lamenting.
Yeah.
Yes.
And going through that process.
But there's a right way to lament and that could be a whole podcast. How to lament correctly.
You need to write down.
Like I have a whole notebook that I started on ideas for podcasts, like how to correctly lament. Because
so this is honestly,
now we started it, didn't we?
This is honestly something that's very true. Whenever you get 2 or 3 in a room and you start talking about the things of the Lord, it starts being like fireworks, and you just start to pull on people, and then ideas start flowing. And this is the whole heart behind this book, is to teach you. First, it starts with you, then you bring in friends, family, and then your circle just increases. And then before you know it, you're running with a community of believers that's thinking right, that's acting right, that's flowing with the spirit of revelation. It's having a blast.
Right. Well, that's why we have Aletheia Community.
Oh, that's a good plug.
It is. It is. It's why we have Aletheia Community, and you can be a part of that as well. Mm-hmm. We have information online if you're interested. We meet 3 Mondays a month from 12 to 1, and it's just a group of people who talk about the things of the Lord, and it's powerful, but it's that idea bouncing and spiritual ideas that do the same thing. Yeah, it's powerful. Yeah. So what's one word that you would say to people who are sitting there today saying, my prayer life is dead? Jumpstart me.
Well, what I will honestly say is that if your prayer life is dead, you don't know how much you're loved.
Oh, that's so good. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's a word.
Yeah, it's true. Because if you knew how much you were loved, you would never forsake the place of prayer. It's the acceptance of the Father is all you need to fuel you. It's not about trying harder to obey him more. It's not about, I was just telling my daughter this morning, love is strong, but it never forces you. Mm-hmm. And so if you feel like you're being forced into the prayer room, that's not love, and you will not be able to sustain it. Prayer is only sustained in the fire of love.
So good. I mean, Daniela, you spend equal amounts of time. We're not leaving you out of this. You understand every concept we've talked about prayer. What would you say to the man or woman who's sitting here today and they're like, my prayer life is dead. I've lost my way. What would you say?
I mean, I believe what Kari just said is crucial because everything works by love. And so I would say it's coming into the understanding that it is a beloved conversation between the Father and oneself.
Mhm.
And the Father listens and he responds. Holy Spirit, is the one who literally um, is so active in our prayer, but a lot of times we allow mindsets that literally cloud what is actually happening within the prayer, within that time, which is so holy. But I would say that for anyone out there who seems or who's believing this lie that prayer is dead and that nothing comes out of prayer, I would strongly encourage you to read this book. And it'll definitely alter your perception and your understanding of what actually happens in prayer. But prayer is alive; it's living. It's living within the fiery love of God, and it's powerful. So
It's immersive experience. I believe
absolutely,
that prayer is the way that Adam walked with God in the garden in the cool of the day, and it was not lost. It's for us. The walk is for you.
Absolutely.
One of the things that Daniela has always said is that you have a divine language that you have developed with the Lord over the years. Even with your husband, he calls you a pet name, whether it's honey or it's sweetheart or lovey, something. And you've had a divine connection of language with God over the years. Go back and find that. And if you're sitting here today and you believe that your prayer life is dead, I just want to say that's a lie. You're believing a lie.
Yes.
And you need to reject that belief because your prayer life is not dead.
And begin to think, because it's never, the only problem with people thinking that their prayer life is dead is they feel the Father is distant.
Yeah.
The Father is disapproving of them, and they don't believe that they're in union with God. But that's why Jesus said, abide in me. The word abide literally means seamless union.
Right. You go back to the place that you met him at last in your mind. You reject the lie that your prayer life is dead because he's right there. And you pick up that divine language. And Kari, I love what you said. Yeah, he so loves you.
Yes.
You just go back to where you were. And I want to make available Kari's book. It's on Amazon. You can pick it up. What I Wish I Knew About Prayer, because honestly, it's what you wish you knew about prayer too.
Absolutely.
There's so many gems in here that you need to have, and you're going to be blown away by things that you didn't know. So I just want to encourage you to jump on Amazon, pick up a copy for yourself, pick up a copy for somebody else that you love, and you can work through it together and have something to talk about.
So Daniela, who do you think this is for? Like, would you say it's for?
I would say it's for everyone. Absolutely everyone, because I believe that one of the things that the church today lacks is their knowledge of prayer and what it is. It's a language, right? It's a divine language. And it's surprising even just to have conversation with our people and to hear that really this is an area where we lack knowledge and understanding, or even just the mechanics on how to go about prayer, to cultivate a lifestyle of prayer. And so I honestly would say it's not just for the one who's believing a lie, or not just for the one who doesn't know how to pray. I believe it's also for the ones who would call themselves a lifetime Christian, an experienced Christian.
Prayer.
Yeah, lifetime prayer. It truly, truly is for everyone. There is no one that could possibly be excluded from this book. I learned a lot, even just going over the book, and reading the book, even though, like Kari was saying, we were part of this journey. Karen and I were part of this journey. But even going back and just reading her words and going through the experiences, and I just have to say, one of the things that I love about this book, and it's kind of towards the end, is just that there are real life experiences and encounters with the Holy Spirit that were birthed out of this place of prayer. And so if you are desiring to encounter God in this place of prayer, this is a must read. And that's why I just have to say it is for everyone. And most of all, I would say it really, to he or she who believes they are experienced or have lots of knowledge in the arena of prayer, I challenge you to really step into this book and just completely be blown away.
And be open to learning something new.
Absolutely.
Maybe you've done the whole, there's a devil behind every door.
Yes.
And we got to bind it.
Oh, now you brought that up.
That's a whole other can of worms.
We're going to keep going.
No.
Now we're going to keep going.
Let me tell you, this book does not have any binding and rebuking in it.
And there's a reason for that.
Yes.
There's a reason for that. Look, you can dispatch angels just as quickly as you can rebuke demons.
Yes.
Comment? Sorry, I feel strongly on that one.
I know. Yeah, I do too. And these little tiny phrases like that have been door hinges that have completely changed my life. When you understand that you are transformed by beholding the one who created you, and you're not transformed by binding and rebuking. And the warfare doesn't stop in your life because you bind and rebuke. In fact, it increases because all you're doing is looking at the enemy.
You're giving so much attention to the enemy. He revels in it. He is proud and boasting because you have exhausted yourself in your prayer room by giving him glory. He is exalted, glorified, and sitting on his throne. Stop that. It's ridiculous.
It's an altar.
Oh my gosh, it absolutely is an altar. Oh, I'm so sorry. You just hit one of my.
I had a nerve. Is that another podcast episode?
Oh, we could go. Yes, we could go on for a long time on it. And
don't get Mama Karen upset.
We know people who exhaust themselves day and night. On and on, rebuking, waving hankies, rebuking.
They do.
They wear themselves out.
And they're exhausted. And they're if you ask them,
why? What angels have you released? What good have you done? What's the point of it all?
Okay, here's the point.
I'm so sorry.
Daniela, did you have something? No. You are transformed.
Why?
You will become what you look at.
Yes.
Which is why I heard this example once. I thought this was so good. Do you know those Jenga pants back in the 90s? Those big, huge Jenga pants. Okay. Well, I knew people that hated them. And they would constantly make fun of them. And they would talk bad about them. And, you got to wear them low when you can see them.
Yes.
And then I saw there was this guy that hated them and started wearing them. Why? Because you desire what you behold.
Because you talked about them so much that you finally started to like them.
This is what we're talking about.
Yes.
And this is the principal concept behind prayer that will change your life. If you are constantly looking at the beauty realm and beholding the Lord and his provision and his resources, and you see him as Abba, you will begin to walk out that reality in your own life.
So look, now I was ready to just have them buy the book. Now we ended up on that. Now what we have to do is
we're gonna do a different podcast for the next book.
Yeah, we are. You're right. But now what we have to talk about, because now we went ahead and talked about giving worship to the enemy.
Yes.
Now what we have to talk about before we end, we just have to talk about the fact that you spent some time talking about our experiences in the prayer room together.
Oh, yes.
The three of us, and how it bonded us together. When you experience the Lord together, you are so binded together in the spirit, like nothing else can bind you together.
I'm really glad that you brought that up. So we only have 4 minutes to talk about it. We can do it. Okay. I will say this is in the last chapter, I think,
Mhm.
was the day that we met the Lion of the tribe of Judah.
So good.
And
I have goosebumps now. My hair is
even
standing
just
up.
saying it,
Yeah.
the three of us were in the room when he came in.
Hmm.
And, you know, I have both of their reactions of what they experienced and what they saw that day in the prayer room. It was different from mine. But all we have to do is say the word now. And because we know him like that, if I ever hear another teaching on the Lion of the tribe of Judah, I put it through my experience that day with what he's like as the Lion of the tribe of Judah. But what do you think?
Oh no, absolutely. It was such a powerful experience, and each one with a different perspective. But one of the things that I took away was just the fierceness of his love, right, and the voracity of his love. But again, there was a gentleness to him, a core gentleness, but on the exterior, the violent love of God that just came in and tore down everything that we were interceding for, right? Everything that we were looking to God for breakthrough. And with just being able to just see that imagery within that place of prayer, right? And then not only that, but be able to discuss it like afterward, just like bringing our experiences together.
And shocked to see how similar but how different they were.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It was just, it's an experience that, like I was saying earlier or before, that really comes or flourishes in this place of prayer. So
it was not boring.
No, it's not.
Oh my word. It was so powerful. And then even when we described it, it was a year later. And then by text, like we just threw a few texts together when we sent it to you for the book. Yes. If we would have been able to have described it when it happened for you to be able to put in the book, you would have had so many pages. I mean, there wasn't even enough time for us to put it together for your book.
What happened?
Our time ran out.
Well, it didn't because we still had like 60 seconds. I don't know that I like recording on Clipchamp because I could tell that the...
Isn't there a way to extend the time? Because anyways, when you edit it, you're going to cut off a lot.
I know, I am.
It won't actually be 30 minutes.
Oh, it's still going. Oh.
Okay. So it was just so powerful. We could have filled a volume by just that experience if we would have been able to have written about it after it happened.
So here's the point. The Word of God is the diving board into the ocean of experiencing who he is. The Word is there for us to usher us into having these experiences. And we had this experience that has deeply touched all of our lives. I mean, forever.
Yes.
I'm touched by it.
Yes.
And I know the lion's love at anything that's hindering love in me.
Yeah.
I'm not a target of his wrath. What's hindering me is the target of his wrath. And when you have experiences like that, you are never the same. And that's what we want for you.
Yeah. But I think that the old traditional idea of having a prayer meeting where we're praying for Aunt Martha's toe, that's a shift. That's a shift that needs to take place. But you aren't going to understand that unless you have a resource like this that goes through and explains why you need to make a shift.
Yeah.
So
it's on Amazon.
Thank you for writing this book, Kari.
Yes, absolutely.